What's going on, guys? I have a retouching tutorial for you. This is Max from Loreaux Photography. So I do like this image as is, as in like full length, but there's just something about her face and her hands that is just really captivating, and I want to crop in on it. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to crop in, and we are really going to focus on her face and her hands in this shot. So that looks pretty good to start. Pull that in a little bit. And as always, we are editing in RAW. Okay, so before I do anything else, I am just going to touch up her skin using the spot healing brush. So we're just going to smooth it out a little bit. Any areas of trouble, we'll get into that. So kind of this is a little bit of a problem area, a little bit of rosacea. Yep. So see how this color is different than that. So we just want to, the big thing is we just want to blend this. We don't want to lose her cheekbone. We just want to blend this so it's a little smoother across. So we're going to take that color right there. Let's bring the intensity down quite a bit. And even more. And let's just color. Let's just go over this one. So it's definitely not perfect. I'm going to take rid of that. But I like that better for sure. And then let's just blend here a little bit. Let's just try to get rid of that black streak by the nose. Okay, fantastic. Hold on, one more. Okay. Okay, so we're pretty close color-wise. I don't always like to brush directly in the face, but I definitely think that smoothed it out. We still do want to see the texture of her skin, though. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is come back, go back to the spot healing brush, and we are going to grab these just little things that are a little bit distracting. Okay, so next thing is under the eye. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sample from about here, and we're just going to paint over that just ever so slightly. Let's bring the hardness down. Nice. Really great. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, one little thing. We are going to sample this under her eye and just get rid of that tiny crease under the eye that everybody has. Okay, so that made it darker. So that's fine. Let's sample here. Great. Sample. Let's go under there a little bit. Okay, let's pull back really quick. Let's look at our work. It's pretty freaking good. Great. So we have that versus history versus that. It's way better. Way better. Okay, great. So next thing that jumps out to me, well, actually, let's take care of the one on the right first. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sample the area down here and just kind of blend it all here. So first we're going to sample this area and we're going to do this side. Actually, let's go this area and this side. Nice. Just want to match that a little bit. Okay, next, this area right here. Nice. Next up, let's go this area. Let's make it a little bigger. One more. Might be a little too much. Let's look at that. Nah, it's pretty freaking great. All right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure her eyelashes are defined. I may even add an eyelash or two. Let's make that a little more. Okay, awesome. Fantastic. Let's make sure these are good. Another one here. Okay, and then what we're going to do is see how this is a little red. Again, I don't want to go over the top. I don't like to make it completely white because I think it looks kind of fake then. So we don't want to go completely white. We want to go a little bit brighter and keep that opacity low and just tune it up a little bit. Let's make that smaller. Just so it's a little more, not quite as red. Here we go, and then over here. I like that. Let's go to the other one. Again, I'm going to sample color. I'm going to go over the top just a little bit, just so it's more natural looking. Okay, fantastic. And then the next thing we're going to do is I want to juice up the color in the eyes a little bit. So it's about there. Okay, so it's kind of a grayish green. In real life, they were closer to kind of, I'm not going to say that blue, but they were closer to like that color. All right, so we're just going to add a little bit of that. Again, we don't want to go overboard. Don't want to go overboard. We're going to add a little bit. And then I'm just going to put a tiny highlight in the iris, or the pupil, I guess, rather. So we're going to go highlights. Just bring that up a little bit. It's the tiniest highlight. Okay, let's see how that looks. Looks really nice. Great. Okay. Let's do the same thing here. So again, I'm mostly coloring. I'm coloring in the darker areas, right? So like this area, you know, we painted a little bit lighter, but the darker areas, like I'm trying to be realistic to the colors that are actually in the eye. So there we go. Grab that. It's probably closer to that in real life. But again, her eyes are kind of shaded. So we're just going to add that. Okay, fantastic. Zoom out. Really like the way her eyes are looking. Okay, the next thing I notice is the hair. It's just a little thin up there. And so I just want to add a little bit more hair. I just want to darken it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to burn. I'm going to go to shadows. And let's just fill that in tiny bit. So that's definitely way too much. Okay. So let's sample this color is about what we want. Let's just fill in that hairline. Go. Looking better. And I'm going with the way the hair is actually going, right? So I'm kind of mirroring that. Don't want it to look fake. Let's get these. Okay, let's fill that in. Okay, already looks a lot better. Man, looks really good. Okay, so next up, there's these tiny hairs right here. And then as we go, like if we see any skin imperfections, we're gonna get rid of them. The way I feel about skin though is you can definitely go over with skin. And I know some photographers like that almost over retouch look. You know, everybody's got their certain taste. But me personally, um, the work I go for the most is where, you know, you don't have to see every single pore, but I want to see some detail in that skin. I don't want them to look like an AI, which it's funny enough because AI can get some pretty realistic stuff now. But and this is all just the way I do it. I know there's some really great hacks on AI. I've used the Adobe skin smoothing a little bit. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I think in a couple years it'll be really good, but right now it's a little too much for me. I think the skin has an over like retouch waxy look to it, and that's definitely not what I'm going for. So just cleaning this up, a couple freckles there. Honestly, she has some freckles and beauty marks that you could potentially not get rid of and you could boost up. I think they could look pretty cool. But I just really want to focus on the eyes on this one and the expression. And yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Potentially we'll add on. All right, so just any little things here. Great. Okay. Okay, let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Okay, perfect. Looks really good. All right, let's see what else we got. Okay, so there's these hairs over here, and there's this right here. So we want to do this without extending her forehead, making it look like she has a really big forehead. So I want to sample about here because we don't want to sample there because then I think it's a little too light. So let's sample up here. Okay, we need to take down the hardness, probably take down the opacity, and then just, there we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, I really dig that. What I am going to do, though, now, because I don't want to, like, this is a nice highlight. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of that color up there so it matches a little bit more. I think that looks really good. Let's go to the before and after on that. Let's see. So we have that to here. So I like it. I am going to add a little shadow because I think that shadow that was here, I didn't dislike that at all. So just a tiny, tiny bit of a shadow, right? Just a little, almost like the idea of a shadow. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. See what that looks like. Last one might be too much. That's pretty freaking good. Okay, great. So that is a pretty great start. Oh, that's right. We have this hair over here. And then as we go, just little pickups. Little spots. Okay, so this might be a little tricky, so I'm going to try to get rid of this one with the spot healing brush. That did the job. That did the job. Isn't a perfect one. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to sample. I'm going to sample some of this and some of this. So let's sample here. And let's just see if we can just kind of fill that in. Okay, and then let's sample here. Okay, let's see how that looks. That looks pretty freaking natural. Okay, awesome. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is this retouch specifically. I want this to almost look like an oil painting. So whenever I do something like this, I always try to have a reference that I really dig. So we're going to grab something from Caravggio. So what I'll do is we just go to Google Images. Yeah, something like that. Like something with a nice rich red. So my Google Images being slow. Sorry, guys. That is so annoying. Okay. I think we're working now, guys. So something like this, as you can see, it's darker, but you can see why the tones, just because that fabric, man, that would work so well. So let's click on that. I'm just going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it right next to my image, and I'm going to use it as a reference. Man, that's just such an incredible piece. So, the tones are not that far off, right? That's why I selected this. It's similar. It's definitely darker. It's more low key. So let's look at that. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is my shadows are definitely not as dark as theirs. So let's add some darker shadows. So I'm going to grab right here on this painting. Perfect. Add it to my image. Okay. So we're going to go to solid color. That's about what's given me, like on my black, brown. Double click. Sorry, this is in the way. Let's rename this layer shadows. Okay, perfect. Whoops. Sorry, guys. Let's rename this one shadows. Okay, perfect. So now we're going to double click shadows layer. And this is the highlights here. So we're going to pull away from the highlights. See that? So it's revealing this. Pull away, pull away. I usually do this really to taste, very much so. So it's not like an exact science. That is about what I'm digging. I would like to see a little bit more black in the background. Let's go to about here. I like that for now. Okay, so now we're going to Alt-click the white arrow. We're going to pull it down. So it just softens the shadows as we had them. I like that. That is a nice way to add some shadows. And I would maybe, let's just look at the opacity. That to me is about right. Take it down to like 80. All right, fantastic. So let's look at the highlights. The highlights in this image are brighter, are slightly different tone than mine. This is the brightest point, and it's pretty similar to what I already have going. I am going to go a slightly brighter version than that color I grabbed. I'm going to go about there. And then I am going to do the same thing, but I'm going to add to my highlights. So here we go. Solid color. You notice we still have that one we picked earlier. We're going to name that highlights. Fantastic. Double click. And now we're doing the opposite, right? We're pulling away from the shadows. So this is going to sit on our highlights. So I really like it when it kind of skims the shawl that she's wearing. And even if it ends up here, I'll probably erase it here because I think down here is just distracting. But I'm pretty happy with that. Maybe a tiny bit more. And then to make it softer, right, we go Alt-click and we pull that down. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Okay, I like those tones. Again, we're going to bring this opacity down. Maybe even a tiny bit more than 25. I think that's quite nice. And then we're going to take our eraser and we're going to just tone it down over here because we want all the attention to be on her expression in her face. So let's get rid of it down here. And then also here, frankly, just so the brightest point is her face, which might not be the case right now, but we're going to get there. Okay, so next we're going to pull this crop up the tiniest bit. I think we just want to lose that knee. Yep, let's lose that knee. Let's come in a tiny bit so her back is a little bit straighter. That's pretty perfect. And then now we have a little more extra space on that side. Let's bring that in. Okay, it already kind of looks like a classical painting. Okay, next thing we're going to do is I want the bottom of this picture to be darker. You know, I kind of want the brightest point to be basically around here. So we're just going to add some more of that shadow. So we're going to make another shadow layer, solid color, bottom shadows. We're going to call this. Okay. And we're pulling away from the highlights, pulling away. So this is clearly a pretty bright point. So what we want to do there then is, you know, this is obviously an exaggeration, but let's do that. So it's quite dark. I'm going to fade it. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're just basically going to erase it from the top. So that's our layer, that's our bottom shadows. So now we're taking our eraser and we are just taking it away. Man, that's pretty freaking great. So that's just one click of the eraser. That's two. Okay, let's go back really quick. Okay, so let's see here. Hold on. We kind of want to keep that dark. Man, that's so great. So really though, with her arm is like black right now. So I really like what that did, but we don't want to go, you know, it just kind of looks weird if it's too dark. So let's bring this back a little bit. Bring it back, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. All right, fantastic. Man, that looks really good. Now what we're going to do. Let's see before and after. Yeah, so it definitely it definitely helps. Still don't want it too much on this arm. The next thing I'm going to do now is I'm just going to bring the exposure down. Let's make another layer of this. Let's get a layer of the exposure. Let's just bring it down. Perfect. See, this is about what we want the outsides to look. So now this is home base, and we're just going to paint back in. We're going to make a mask right here for the exposure layer. So in case we kind of go over a line, we can come back. All right, so the black is going to be our pulling us away from that exposure. So this right here, we want to be the brightest point. So then we're just going to kind of paint along. Part of the reason I picked this image is, I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar, but the Afghan girl is a really famous, arguably the most famous National Geographic photo ever taken. It is a girl, I think just kind of like a girl who was on the street, and a reporter and a photographer for National Geographic was out there, and she just had these absolutely striking eyes. And she's wearing kind of an orange red. That is magical. Right there, that is really magical. Wow. So, man, I got distracted. Sorry about my phone. So, yeah, anyways, the photo's amazing. You guys should look it up. Honestly, man, that is lovely. Okay, so let's look at before and after. Yeah, it just looks more like a painting, like we said. So I want to add a tiny, tiny bit of light, excuse me, to the lower part of the image, right? We have our brightest points kind of ID'd. Let's just add a little bit of light down here, but we might pull back on it because it looks pretty great as is. Okay, I mean, to me, that is about perfect. Let's just see. We're probably going to undo this, but I want to see if we add this arm back in, does that help? I think it's probably going to subtract. I don't think it's going to help, but I could be wrong. I don't really think we need to know much about that arm. I think we can just add a tiny bit in there. Just make it a tiny bit brighter. Okay, fantastic. Absolutely loving the way that looks. Okay. Oh, one little thing. Let's clone stamp this puppy out. It's just a little bit distracting. It's just a distraction that we don't need. Okay, so all I'm doing is I'm cloning this, and I'm just going to get rid of this triangle right here. Okay, amazing, amazing, boom. Okay, let's just get that tiny corner right there. And then let's get rid of this too. Okay, so I absolutely love where we're at. I think we're in a really strong spot. It's a really strong image. I want to pull back on the exposure just the tiniest bit, I think. I want to just give it a little room to breathe. Let's see, let's go back. Nah, it's actually better. It's better with no room to breathe. Perfect. Okay, so next up, I want to add a little bit of orangeness to this image because, all right, look at our buddy Caravggio. The difference I would say is this woman's face kind of matches hers, but we're missing some orange that really seam this image together. So I want to add a little bit of like orange gold. So a really great way to do that is, I'll show you two different ways. So the first one, we're going to sample this on the guy's face. I'm thinking about there. So we're just going to sprinkle a little bit of this into the image. Solid color. And I want to add this to kind of like the highlights slash midtones. And I'm not going to add a ton. It changed the color for me. So let's see, watch. Sometimes Photoshop will do this. So if we pick about, let's pick here. Okay, so let's look at that. Okay, so that's in the tan area. Yeah. And the one it gave me was too orange. So we're going to solid color. Let's go up a little bit. Now we're kind of in the tan area. This is closer to what it is, but a little more yellow. That's what it is. Okay, that's the color we're going to use. Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to pull a little bit away from the shadows, and we're going to pull a little bit away from the highlights. But it will be in some of our highlights, no doubt. So that's kind of in the midtones area. So let's soften these a little bit. And then, guys, we're going to bring this way down. So it definitely looks like too much right now, but we're going to take this to like a 9% opacity. To me, that's still too much. So let's look at like 5% opacity. Great. So it just added, I'll show you the before and after. Just added a little, it's like almost imperceptible. Just add a little orange to the image. Okay, next up, look at this. Look at that expression. Isn't that amazing that a painter did that? Like he just drew that. All right, I want to grab this color. I don't even know what that is. Again, so it's like a tan. Okay, so I want to add a little bit of this to the image again. I'm going to call this accent color. Accent. And then let's get rid of this layer. Okay. So let's add a little more of that accent color in there. I would say it's about there. There. Let's just add a tiny bit. Okay, this is accent number 2. Okay, and we're going to kind of leave this in the highlights. But not fully in the highlights. Not in the absolute high highlights. So like about there, I think is great. Let's bring it way down. Okay, what happens without that? Yeah, I don't think we need much of that. Just a little kiss of it. Okay, next thing I want to do is I'm going to show you the other way. I told you how to add gold. So the other way, and this is a tool I love using. Let's just add a little more gold to this image. We're getting there. So we're going to go to color lookup, edgy amber. Name this layer Gold Fill. You already see it has a pretty powerful, it kind of adds like a richness to it. That's too much. So I'm going to bring it down, and then what I'm going to do, that's about right, like 26 opacity. Then we're going to double click Gold Fill, and we're going to do the same thing we did with the solid color. So I'm going to pull this a little bit from the highlights. You want to keep those whites, you know. Okay, and let's bring that opacity down a little bit more. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just do a little eraser just on that brightest spot on the gold fill. Okay. That is really nice. And that is it, folks. So it really does look like a painting. A lot of the similar tones we have there. That is stunning. I really like that. There you go, guys. More stuff coming soon. Make sure you subscribe, like, share. If you want to see more of this or you want to follow me, basically Loreaux Photography, Loreaux_photography on Instagram, LoreauxPhotography.com. I'm based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but I travel to LA frequently for shoots and New York City as well. Best way to get a hold of me is through my Instagram or my website. Thanks for watching, guys.